Hello, and welcome to the More Cheese Less Whiskers podcast. My name is Dean Jackson, and today we're talking with Fran from Suffolk in England, and she is a designer who helps people with visual identities. And we had a really great conversation because she has a really great philosophy around design and the importance of design and the importance of putting your best face forward, all the impact that the imagery and the choices that you make for your logo and every piece of communication that you use in your company can have an impact. And I believe that. I believe that design really makes a difference. Just look at how we react to things that are beautiful. We want things. We want companies to be attractive, just like we want people to be attractive. And this conversation, we talked about the idea of how can we identify and turn a tangible, put a tangible element to design. A quantitative element is what is the return on great design. And so we had a great conversation about that. And we also talked about how, as a solopreneur in a smaller community with a business that she wants to maintain at just a certain level, which keeps her busy, allows her to have a great family life. We talked about some really great simple strategies to execute to keep that flow of business coming, mixed in with while we're having the big philosophical discussions about return on design. So I think you're really going to enjoy this one. Here we go. Hello.
Hello.
Is that Franzi? Is that how I say your name?
Yes, and I'm very happy for you to call me just Fran. It makes things easier.
Fran. Okay, perfect. Well, welcome.
Well, thank you very much for having me, Dean. I'm so excited about this.
I am too. Where are you calling in from? You're in London?
No, I'm in Suffolk, which is around about 70 miles northeast of London. So it's quite a rural part of England.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Well, I'm excited to have a great conversation with you because I think that what you do is one of the very important things. And so we'll have a nice conversation about it. Why don't you kind of fill me in on what you're up to, and then we can kind of jump off from there.
Yes. So I'm a visual identity designer, so I've got my own graphic design business, but I'm niching down in that I specialize in sort of brand identity design only, and I'm mainly working with clients in the sort of wellness and well-being industry and health and beauty. So I'm trying to sort of rein in a little bit the number of industries that I'm working in. And they are mainly sort of solopreneurs, one-man bands, or small business owners. And they're mainly some great people who have some really fantastic ideas. And I usually pick and choose very carefully with who I work with because I find it very important for my work to feel very enthusiastic about what my clients do. Because that leads to really good work and for really good working relationships as well.
Oh, that's great. So when you talk about visual identity, what would be a typical engagement for you? Is it on somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, we're starting this"? Is it usually a startup, or is it a we want to refresh, or and then how long do you work with that? Like what kind of?
It's both really. So I tend to work with startups and also with those businesses that have been 1 year in, 2 years in, 3 years in, and they've sort of finally figured out what they want to do. and they need to refresh their identity to really, truly to sort of show the world what it is they're about.
Okay.
And it depends, but I'm one of those designers that doesn't do the sort of overnight turnaround. So I'm really taking my time with my clients to, first of all, really get to know them personally and their business in a lot of detail, and really trying to figure out what it is they not just want, but actually what they need. And sometimes what they want is not actually what they need. So that's sometimes quite interesting to figure that out with the clients. There are some light bulb moments there. And yeah, it can take up to 4 weeks, 8 weeks. But that would be with a couple of projects running sort of parallel at a time.
Mm-hmm. And when you're so you're doing primarily the logos, and or are you doing all of the you're helping somebody get their whole visual identity for their company?
So, exactly. So I'm really trying to make people aware that I'm not just a logo designer. Of course, logo design is part of what I offer, but I call it design of a visual identity toolkit, and that is a logo system, that is a color scheme, that is typography, layout. And then I work with my clients on their deliverables as well for print and online. And that varies.
So you kind of help them set up their style guide, so that their internal team can execute under your the parameters and stuff that you set. Help them set up the blueprint for it. Now,
So
what do you think?
Sorry, you go ahead.
I was going to ask you, what do you think is the most important thing about that? Like, I think that if we just have the conversation that most entrepreneurs probably look at the logo as it's good enough, or it looks good, or what do you think, and pass it around to each other or their spouse or their their team members, and let's vote. What do you guys think about this one? Or they'll go on 99 Designs or on Fiverr and get some options, and I like this one, and then they kind of like build the choose that. That's kind of probably the way that most logos end up getting done, and you can really see the difference in the companies that really take a design intention with their business. So I'm interested to see how you talk about the, we'll call it the return on design. Like how is what you're talking about different or more beneficial than going to Fiverr or going to 99 Designs, which is what most people do? What is the faulty thinking that people have there?
Well, they are price shoppers. They're just price shoppers, and I think the problem these days is that there is a huge part of people that see design as a commodity these days because, as you say, it is so readily and cheaply available from Fiverr, or they know how design software works, and they just knock it up themselves and think they save an awful lot of money, when there are actually people out there that feel that investing in a proper bespoke solution that has been done by a professional designer actually adds value and is a great investment. There are those people out there, but and this is why I'm so excited to be speaking to you today, is how to find those people, how to sort of sift them out of the crowd. to really have a sort of consistent stream of great inquiries from, I call them great clients, those that understand the value good design adds, and don't grumble about the pricing connected to that.
So how much of a premium would you say, what would it be just for, so I have a context for this here, compared to working with you? How much do you charge typically to go through this process with people? What's the price point?
So my starting point is in the sort of around the £1,000 mark, and that basically includes your proper toolkit, as I've just explained, and at least 2 smallish deliverables, and anything else that comes on top of that, like if it's a brochure of multiple pages, then that needs to be budgeted extra. Yeah, but it's around about £1,000 mark.
And even that, I mean, that seems fairly. Where does that fit in the realm of what would be, kind of the top market pricing that people would pay for visual identity?
Well, I think if you go to Fiverr, or they're even, local in my area, we've got a lot of sort of young budding designers who charge maybe £50 for it. And that's, but that's purely a logo, so you can see the difference in price, and you can see why people kind of scratch their head and say, why do you charge £1,000 when he can do it for like £50? So what's the big difference? And then, the explaining starts. And I've actually started to give talks at networking events, and to run some little workshops and master classes to really explain what a consistent visual identity to help build your brand actually means, what needs to happen, and what needs to be designed in order to achieve that. And there's usually those people that come along, they nod, and at the end they come over to you and they say, you know what, now I do understand. And it is really nice to see that, but I would like this to happen on a bigger scale, obviously.
Well, what would be the staple of some of the ideas that you might share that would be the most convincing arguments for £1,000 identity package versus a £100 logo that somebody could do on the thing? From a practical standpoint, people say that to you. What do you point to as evidence that that £1,000 is a better investment than the £100 or any lower price? Do you talk about it in terms of the investment of it, or how do you think about it?
Well, I think about it in terms of what I offer more than those websites, and that's the truly personal approach, in that I really sit down with my clients and help them work through their sort of brand strategy to start with, help them to understand far better what they need to achieve design-wise to put themselves on the map, to come up with a solution that basically distills the essence of their story about their values, and visualize that to really speak to clients and cut through the noise of the marketplace. I think it's also the style of design that I offer, because every designer has a different style. Everyone has their own little handwriting. And I think it's it's my sort of quality style of work that people really appreciate and see. I see what you've done there. I can tell from the identity what this business is about. I can see the level of clients they're trying to attract from what you've done for them. And I think it's this truly personal approach in really trying to get into the mindset and story of my clients' businesses that sets me apart from a website like Fiverr.
Uh-huh. So yeah, it's very interesting because it's one of those intangibles in every conversation that I have, because I'm a big believer in design. And I know, you think about every great business that, you can name or seems to, be revered or admired or, have a positive outcome tends to be very nicely designed.
Exactly.
That it comes down to it, that it's encompassed into everything of it, not just in the logo itself. But
exactly. That's exactly it, and that's why I'm saying to people, I'm not a logo designer. If you want to work with me, then we're basically creating the entire face of your brand, and that's not just the logo.
Do you have ongoing relationships with people?
Yes. So I have a nice core base of clients that I did a brand identity for, and who keep coming back for more work or some regular work. So yes, most of those relationships are ongoing, which is really nice.
Because I'm wondering about this whole idea of, the bringing design into everything. Like I see so many times, because it goes even down to the font choices and the spacing.
Don't get me
and
started on that, Dean.
No, I'm just, I mean, that's really like the overall how you present yourself. It's almost like being a singer or a band or a actor or something would hire a stylist to choose the clothes and the way they present themselves. So many things, it's like the logo is just used so poorly. One of my I've been lucky to have been surrounded by really great designers in my world, in my life. And the part of the thing that one of them showed me a style guide for Skype, the Skype style guide. And it was pages and pages. It was a whole manual, right? Their style manual of how the font and the ratios and the elements and the how and when to use it, where, and the specific colors that are in it. And just everything about it is so, meticulously thought through.
Exactly. And it's quite interesting that you mentioned typefaces, because I'm a big advocate of, first of all, finding typefaces for my clients that are really supportive of the personality of their brand, and I tell them to even use them in invoices, because it's this it's the same with colors. It's this repeated exposure, and especially typefaces, because they are carrying the message of the brand. They are, the most constant element used of the toolkit and everything they do. It doesn't stop there. It's sometimes having a set of icons or some illustrations or a graphic in the colors that have been composed for the brand. and
Mm-hmm.
just coherently using that across all the communication channels.
Mm-hmm.
That's what visual identity is. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not just taking a logo and basically sticking it on everything they do, but jumble up typefaces, use pink one day, green the next. It doesn't work like that. And that's basically what I'm working out with my clients. And I'm preaching to them that
Mm-hmm.
only to use the elements that we've put together. This is sort of little toolkit of design elements for their brand. And that goes down to creating templates for Instagram tiles, for example. And it works a treat. It really does.
Yeah, yeah. That's interesting. Is that the I read a book years ago that was really like a really solid head start. Was a book by I think it was Robin Williams called The Non-Designer's Design Book, and
Okay.
it's really like it was very thoughtful because it shared the main things, how you can get like 80% of the stuff, you can make an 80% improvement in stuff just by realizing these principles of contrast and repetition and proximity and alignment. That if you just know those things, that it makes such a difference in the way that you visually present things. Just kind of heading towards that design literacy. And I think that there's that. But I'm wondering, in terms of the ROI on it, right? The return on design.
Mm-hmm.
That seems to be like where you could have some impact. Is if there's, I've never seen it, and I keep presenting this idea to designers to be able to at least have that argument of return on design to show that this, and even if you equated some of these, how that might impact the bottom line. Like when you look at it, that a lot of times people at the early stages, when there is so much money that they're spending on getting their business started or getting new people, that it's unfortunate that the time to make those decisions is probably at a time where they have the least cash and the most need for it.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is really an interesting thing, because you would, I'm sure, say that the investment in design is going to pay off over the long run. Not and harder to point to it immediately.
Yeah, I think the biggest power a really fantastically designed brand has is to steer perception. You can help a business look $1 million and really stand out. But obviously, and this is where you come in, it needs to be backed up by cracking marketing. Those two things work hand in hand. And you can have a wonderful visual identity, and if you don't back it up with some great design, then it's probably not going to work for you. So it's the connection between the two that makes the difference, really.
Mm-hmm. And that's so. I mean, are you like a real student of the game here? Like, is this something that would be do you look at in the world examples where design has made a difference? Like, it would be really an interesting thing to explore is to look at companies that have existed, they had poor design, they made an investment in design, and this is what happened, right?
Yes.
That it goes up as opposed to harder to tell from the beginning, right? What's the cause of everything? What attribution does the design get to the outcome? That it's kind of a softer, hard to tangibly measure. But I think that there's evidence of it that we seek beauty, and that
absolutely.
that if you can show these things in contrast, that just like I would be on the lookout for studies that show the aesthetic advantage,
Yeah, it's yes, go on. Sorry.
That do beautiful people have an advantage over normal looking people or average looking people? I'm saying, like, going to that level, right? To connect your argument to things that are proven in psychology, in the world, that if you take, a group of people who are, do more attractive salespeople do better than less attractive salespeople on the whole? I'm sure there's studies about that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's so when I do my workshops, I do a sort of little intro experiment, and I've got usually 2 books with me, and one of them is a white cover with just some black writing on it, and the other one is a beautiful cover made out of watercolor painting in all different colors and shapes. And I usually ask for show of hands which cover they would put up, which book they would pick up in a bookshop. And it's usually always the cover that has this beautiful watercolor painting on the front. And that's basically always my sort of step into the presentation, to say that, aesthetics are a language of feeling, and it stirs on our emotion, and that emotions are drive our decisions, and I think it's about 85% of our decisions are made in the subconscious mind. So design plays an important factor in that. So that you let's say you see that book cover, or you see let's say the new Formula One logo, and instantly there is a reaction, and it's not a logical one. It's just a feeling you have about something. It's this gut feeling we know, and that's exactly what design achieves. So also when you flick through your Facebook account, through your Facebook feed, what posts really stick out to you? It's those that have some really vivid colors, or some some beautiful writing on them. It's some very simple.
Instagram is made of that.
Exactly. And that's very simple messaging, but it plays on our subconscious. And once you've got that, people then start to dissect what it is they really quite liked about it. And all those big corporate companies and the global players like Nike and Apple, and they've got it fast. They know exactly how to do it. They know exactly how to compose their messages, their visual messaging, in order to trigger those emotions, those reactions.
Yes.
So that's what design achieves. But then again, as I said, you can't just have a great looking logo. You need to put it in context, because you want the messaging in conjunction with the design in order to build the brand, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So that it's this sort of subconscious mind that speaks to design, and that's what I'm sort of playing at in my workshops, and also when I speak to clients.
And what would be the do you have any sort of collection or things that show to put a quantitative attachment to what's largely a qualitative thing? I mean, I remember this because in my periphery, in my memory here, there was a TED talk that I remember watching about a European designer who turned around all of these local newspapers by taking a design-centric approach to the newspaper. And it was a dramatic thing in the readership and the subscriptions and sales. And it was really pretty interesting just by looking at the design of the newspaper, which usually you think of newspapers as very low design, not designed at all, counter to it, right? But the most successful newspapers, certainly in the world, have iconic design about them,
absolutely.
Right? That there's a certain look to. I mean, the Daily Mail looks very different than the London. What's the big newspaper in London?
The Times.
The Times, yes. So you look at that, and but why is it that those are appealing in certain ways? I'm just looking for things that you can use as a way to start the conversation that primes people's minds to thinking that design really does make a difference, and I want to get the best design that I possibly can. So before you ever have the conversation about their identity work, because people who are thinking about that, how much of the work you do, did you say, is startup versus reinvestment or redesign of their identities?
I think it's probably 50-50 at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think that it would be easier to affect both cases if you were to find examples of companies that had mediocre design, did a rebrand, made a commitment to design, and the effect of that on the company. It's almost like there was a book several years ago called Good to Great. I don't know if you remember or heard of that book, by Jim Collins. And he basically found companies that were, going along fine. They were doing good, but something happened, and then they went, immediately started having so much, much greater growth because of this inflection moment. And he researched companies like that and found the similarities, the things that made the difference. What was it that turned them from good to great? And I wonder if there's that same opportunity. Well, I know there is that same opportunity in design. I've just never seen anybody do it. Most of the time, the lament is always like, hear it on one side that the designers are all trying to figure out, well, why don't people value design? They've got to pay money to get this, right? And the entrepreneurs who are getting it are thinking, why would I pay £1,000 when I can get it on 99 designs for £199 or whatever? It's like they're looking at it as an expense and not a investment.
Yeah, that's a real good suggestion to have a look into that.
Mm-hmm. It just seems like that's got to be the way. But that's a big thing that could help you educating people, along the way. But what is the best methods that you have right now for finding new clients, or what is it that we're hoping that we could do on the call today, aside from have a philosophical discussion about design? What's the big thing that you would love to see as a result of this?
So at the moment, most of my clients are referrals, actually, which is very nice.
Yeah.
But it's sort of very concentrated in the local area. And what I would really like to do is kind of sort of break through the borders of, rural England, and to sort of widen the community a little bit more. So what do I need to do on my end in order to reach more of my sort of ideal clients, sort of internationally? How do I do that? And I have, as I said, started doing talks and workshops, and I have a newsletter which I send out on a monthly basis. I use social media. It's not consistent enough. I'm fully aware of that. And I've got some really nice ideas how I can create some sort of free PDFs for download to grow my mailing list. And I'm also thinking about offering a webinar, maybe on maybe turn my sort of visual identity masterclass into some sort of webinar, offer it, the sort of on social media, and see how that goes. So those are my initial ideas. And also I was listening in on the podcast you did with Ben Byrne, who's the copywriter you spoke to a while ago, and I think you were discussing with him how to orchestrate referrals better. And I think, again, this is something where I really let myself down because I have this fear of asking.
And the good news is that you don't need to ask anyway. So this is great.
Yeah.
What is your business? Is it you? Do you have other designers that work with you? Are you a solo entrepreneur? What's your business look like?
Yes, I'm a solo entrepreneur, so I'm just by myself.
Okay, great. So if we could just wave a magic wand and have anything happen, what's your dream come true? What would be your, do you love where you live? Are you in a beautiful countryside place that you've chosen intentionally that's where you want to be? Or are you, yearning to get into the city or to go somewhere else? Or what does it look like for you? What are you looking for?
Well, I'm actually quite happy where I am, I must admit.
Yeah. Okay, perfect.
But and I enjoy the freedom that I've got. So I'm making the most of being my own boss, and to sort of being in charge of my own time, which is great. Yeah. But what I would really like to achieve is to up my monthly turnover by. Ideally, I'd quite like to double it. And I know that for that I need to have a consistent stream of my ideal clients.
Sure.
Working on maybe about 2 to 4 projects a month, and I think
Okay.
that would still give me, a nice family life, but also a really good income and regular business hours. Let's put it that way.
Okay. And if you're, so we 2 to 4 projects a month, and the, if we looked at it, most of them are in, are they mostly £1,000 projects, or is it bigger things that you do, or smaller things, or is that kind of the
I'd say the
starting point?
The £1,000 mark is the starting point.
Okay.
And going up from that. So,
okay.
Ideally, I'd like to settle on the 1.5 or even 2,000. But it always depends on the number of touch points that need to be created within the brand identity project that we're doing. And I'm always quite good in bouncing off ideas with my clients, and sort of I don't like to call it upsell, but I like to put some ideas in their head what they could do in order to reach more people and be a little bit more effective in their marketing efforts.
Right.
So yes.
But what
so
would
always,
be the if you could look at that, what's the best thing that you could do for somebody? Like you look at those things and get a sense of what the pace that you want. If you could, find a consistent group of people to help, what would be what's going to be the difference of going from £1,000 to £2,000? And is there something that you could do for somebody for £20,000?
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah. No,
Well, I'm very hopeful that this time will come. I think what I would maybe the way forward for me is also to have sort of add-on products that let's say we have the visual identity package, so we're talking logo, colors, and typography to start with, and then maybe have a package where we do social media banners, Instagram tiles, maybe like PowerPoint templates, maybe even templates to produce PDFs for freebies on their websites, that type of thing. I think
that's what I'm wondering, is if there's an opportunity for you to, build up a clientele where you have a ongoing relationship with them, where you could be kind of the thing that they couldn't afford to have you full time on their team, but you could be their design director or their art director or their stylist,
that create some sort of retainer scheme.
Yes, that's exactly what I mean. Where you could help them with the design that they need, and have them pay it out over a 1-year period or an ongoing period. That if you could go to where it's £500 a month or £1,000 a month or whatever, depending on who you're targeting, right?
Yeah.
This could be a really great opportunity for you, because once you establish what the visual identity is and establish the guidelines for maintaining it, you could also create all the use case catalog, of the different things, and go through helping them implement that identity everywhere.
Yes.
And that, I think, would be very helpful if you were to think about it as like, if there were a case where you could do like design turnarounds, where somebody who's got a really great product, they've got a really great service, and their clients love them, but their logo and the identity doesn't match it gives people the wrong impression, perhaps, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And that could be an interesting thing where, what do you think about that in terms of, do you believe that better design could have an impact on the bottom line for these businesses?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so what we need is evidence of that.
Yeah.
Right. Do you have it, or is there something, like, as I'm talking about this, I keep looking for it, but I haven't seen anybody present it yet, present that kind of evidence. But I think it would be well received. Like, I think people would love to have that confidence that, wow, that business was that had a great result.
Yeah. There are some really good case studies where it where it really didn't work out after rebrand. I think the really famous are the examples of Gap and Tropicana juice, where the customers just couldn't find Tropicana juice in the aisles anymore because the rebrand was so shocking. So there are case studies on that, but it's really difficult to come up with case studies where you can really see the sort of impact on turnover because of a redesign of a brand. But I think it's certainly something that I would really quite like to ask my clients.
Explore, right.
Explore with my clients what the feedback has been on their rebrand, and if it helped them to increase turnover. I think it might be a nice little survey that I could do with my clients maybe in return for something, that might lead even to more business from my existing clients.
Yes. That's really the thing. Like, you wonder if these, what, and there's probably really great examples of companies that have been lifted by design, or aided by design. And, I think establishing that, because really it sounds reasonable, £1,000 sounds like a reasonable number. I know that there are companies that charge way more than that, even for visual identities. So you're saying you're in this middle kind of portion here, right, where you're more expensive than what let me slap together a logo for you people are, and what an agency might charge for the same, where you're doing agency quality work. Is that your background, or did you have you always been an independent designer?
No, I'm actually coming from a sort of literature and publishing background.
Okay.
So I've done a bit of a turnaround. But I've always been a creative at heart, and worked in. So I've been employed up until 3 years ago, and I had a real struggle in my last business that I was employed in, and I quit, and that was the most natural thing for me to turn to, and it's been really successful for me. I haven't looked back. So yeah, it's been quite a journey.
And yeah, so I think that to get your initial thing, if you're looking at your goal of getting 2 to 4 clients a month, that what we need is to have a way to get in front of people, right? So when you look at it right now, what are you doing anything in Profit Activator 2 right now to get in front of people? Are you doing anything to generate leads, to get people to raise their hand?
Well, what I do is so locally I do networking. I have some sort of I probably call them business partners. So solopreneurs like me who are specialists in their field, and we on occasion work together on projects. So there is some sort of exchange of business in that regard. I'm trying very hard to gather leads via my social media channels. It's very difficult. And I'm also really trying very hard to build my mailing list now, because we've had, I don't know if you know, but Europe has just had the new GDPR in place.
Yeah, very
the new
aware of
data
that.
protection regulations, and so everyone has been updating their mailing list and now kind of starting to build them up again. So I'm in that wave of the sort of mailing list builders as well, and I think that's key for me to go out of the remit of the locality where I live in. I think that's for me the list building, to see if that gets me into Europe or even further afield. But how to achieve that's for me the big stumbling block in a way.
Right. That part of it is that it's often the easiest thing. I want it to look at constraining first as while you're getting everything in play, right? Like you're saying, how big is the area where you live? What's the population kind of thing?
So our county town is about 150,000 people living here.
That's plenty.
And then
okay, so yeah.
Surrounding villages and everything.
Yeah. So there's plenty of businesses and plenty of opportunity right there, right? Design is everywhere. And, it's really interesting that when you take that, I always take this approach of, if you're going to be the biggest band in the world, I will say to people, you got to start by being the biggest band in Suffolk, right?
Yeah.
That's really if you're going to be the grandest designer in the world, you got to be the best designer in Suffolk first.
Locally, yeah.
And so part of that is helps with your focusing your thinking. Now, when you look at it, what it really comes down to now is if we're looking at that pool of the 150,000 population, how many people are entrepreneurs who have the types of business that you might be able to help or want to work with. And one of the what's that?
There's a big percentage of those, and it's a quite close knit community as well. So people tend to know people.
Yeah, and so you've got visible prospects. So I think that what might be the first course of action, which would be a very effective thing for you, because it would display your thinking, your stuff, is to get a list of 150 businesses like this, or people who starting with all the people that know you and that you are networking with already in there, and some of the businesses that would be your kind of ideal prospects, and sending a monthly postcard to those people that I use the world's most interesting postcard as the example of doing this. But I think what would be appropriate for you is to design a postcard that could be highlighting one of your design tips or ideas or philosophies or lessons or something, illustrations, examples that are planting the seeds. Like what would be the 12 most beneficial thoughts that your ideal clients would have when they come to see you, that would be the best fit for you, right? Like, could you plant 12 seeds of they've got the right mindset,
Yeah.
and use that as as the front of the card, but then on the back of the card, always have almost like orchestrating referrals, right? If you hear someone talking about this, give me a call or email me or text me, and I'll get you a copy of this to give to them.
Ah, that's a brilliant idea.
And that way you can talk about all the different things that would be things that you could help people with, right? Whether it's there, because it's not just identity that you help people with, right? There's all the other things as well.
Yes, in effect, yeah, absolutely.
And presencing those, what are the things that people are thinking about? But it's always about just kind of making it easy for people to get started with you,
Yeah, to find me in a way, yeah. Oh, I like that idea of the postcards.
Yeah, because that's the kind of thing where you might budget £1,000 over the course of the year to do that for 150 people, right? If you pick those 150 people, already including the people who are referring you already, right? Those you're already getting referrals, so it's already working on some level. We're just looking to amplify that whenever anybody is thinking or talking about design, that they're going to think about you, and then we've instructed them on what to do when they have that thought,
Yeah. That's excellent. That's a really good thing to do with my current clients as well. Get a card out to them on a regular basis rather than just sending them a newsletter, and maybe offer an incentive of some way, or
offer something of value. Not putting a bounty on them referring people. Like, you're not going to say, refer me somebody and I'll give you something. You're giving them something to give to their clients. Like, if you hear somebody thinking about doing a redesign, give me a call or text me, and I'll give you a copy of my logo design checklist to give them, or my logo idea guide, an inspiration book for logos, or my, when you're looking at the things that are going to be helpful for people thinking about a logo. You kind of philosophically point out the main things that somebody needs to consider, and you can show how typefaces make a difference, convey a message, how colors impact something, or the shapes. Because that's really what it comes down to, is the colors, the text, the shapes, the images. That's all of the tools that you have at your disposal, right?
Yeah.
And it's the combination of those in a way that is either pleasing or displeasing,
Yeah. No, I've been thinking about putting some PDFs together, some sort of worksheets anyway. So I think this is a really good tactic to sort of distribute them in a way.
Yes.
Rather than just having the sign up link on my website.
Yes.
That's very proactive. I like that approach.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And that's great, because that kind of thing that you're doing there, like there's an element to, you're not alone. There's lots of designers like you who they don't want to build a big agency. They don't want to be going in to pitch projects to Coca-Cola or Virgin or whatever. They want to live where they want to live in, a beautiful place. They want to have work that's stimulating and enjoyable, and they want to make a contribution, right? They want to be a designer. The best thing would be if you just had the work coming to you. That would be your dream come true, right?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
2 to 4 people just call you up out of the blue. Yeah. That's what you really want, without having to go sell or feel like you're, convincing people. We just need to be helpful and build that awareness so that when those conversations happen, that they think about you and they introduce you to the people that they're having those conversations with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just awareness.
Makes total
More people
sense.
need to know who you are, right?
Yes, I'm doing my best, but I can do better, that's for sure.
Uh-huh. But it also feels better when you know that you don't have to know all of the businesses in the world. There's just, you're even as narrow as it makes sense. Like you look at these businesses that, you kind of look at how much help. You're surrounded by bad design everywhere you go, at every turn.
Yes, you said that.
But I'm saying it just in the world, right? You don't have to go. You don't have to go far afield to find people who need your help. Yeah,
no, absolutely. You see it everywhere, all day, really. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's just it's I think what's holding me back on sort of speaking to someone who's sort of visual identity, I find really quite in need of improvement. Let's put it in the most polite way possible. I find it hard to approach those people and say, look, what you've got there is really not doing your business justice. Do you think you want to work with me to improve it? It's the worst thing can happen is, and they turn around and they say, well, I love what I've got and it works for me, so go away.
No, and that's the thing, is that's why we want to have the attraction of it, right? Where that you're only attracting the people who are resonating with your message. I think if you were to do, some whatever fits for you, these postcards are a great idea, and email newsletter is a great idea. You're documenting and showing your design philosophy. The great thing is that you could show everything. You can explain everything. You can tell people what you're doing, why you're making these decisions, educating them about that whole process. And they still ultimately are going to need you to help them. Right. So there's no fear of giving away too much or, anything. It's like just that model of really documenting your approach to things, and then people seek you out.
Yeah.
You never have to go asking anybody to do anything. It's because you haven't been, out and giving enough content out there that people seek you out. that you feel like you have to go and kind of seek people out to drum up some business, you know? But just start giving. Just start giving the things, you know?
Yeah. No, that makes absolute sense.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant. I like the idea of looking for sort of conducting those research into finding arguments for the actual value of design. I think that's a great starting point, and certainly something that I need to look into, because it's, I don't know if you've heard of Chris Doe. He runs a sort of business podcast YouTube channel, and they're a design studio based in Santa Monica, and so they're trying to educate young designers on pricing structure and how to convince clients that, you know, design does add value. But what I'm missing is exactly what you're missing as well, the argument how it actually contributes to turnover.
Right.
And I mean, how do you get in front of a client and make a bold claim and say, I am adding value to your business? So you're absolutely right in that you need to have maybe some case studies on hand. That's
exactly right. Who was that designer that you were talking about? How do you say that again?
The guy's called Chris Doe, and the design studio is called Blind, and there's this sort of education channel called The Future. Okay,
The Future. Okay.
And it's without it's without the E at the end, so it's just.
Okay, no E. That's funny. Okay. Yeah, I'll check that out. But I'm all for that. I've been trying to get people to do that, because I think I bridge this idea of, I tend to be in a world where everything that I do with people has a direct and measurable impact on making more money. That's the outcome of us working together, right, in my world. And so I'm very focused on that even our organizational purpose is that we help entrepreneurs make more money. So that is a crystal clear thing. I love design, and I'm very design friendly. And I wish that there was more real evidence for the people who are hardline ROI people to at least get them on board that, listen, this makes sense, right? You're going to make more money because of having better design. So maybe you'll be the one that cracks that code.
It would be nice, but what I'll do is I'll speak to my existing clients as well to see what they what their experiences are, because I think that would be really interesting to find out. I mean, they say things to me like, people comment on how nice it looks, but to find out if it has made a real monetary difference for them would be very interesting, I think.
And if you can couple this idea of, if you can couple design with direct response, with knowing, with marketing, that you can then really show, that it's not just the design, but the way that the actual words that you're using and the way that you present them, and all the way from in-store design, so many great avenues like that.
That's such a great idea. Excellent.
Well, Fran, I really enjoyed that. That went very fast, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I've just looked at the clock. I can't believe it's 70 minutes.
And here we go.
This was great. Thank you so much, Dean. I think I'm going away with a lot of great ideas to put into action. And I
Awesome.
think it will be good fun to do that as well.
Yes.
Wonderful.
And make sure you keep me posted, because when you put together one of these postcards or put together this idea, I'd love to see what you're doing.
Yes, I will. I will keep you in the loop. Well,
Thank you, Fran.
Thank you so much.
You have a great day in Suffolk. I will talk to you soon.
Yeah, speak to you soon, Dean. Bye.
Bye. And there we have it. I love talking about design. I love talking about the impact that it can have. And I really hope that Fran will be able to do some, look into that, do some research and find examples of companies that have turned things around, just with, a renewed commitment to design and the style that you put out there in your communications. I mentioned when we were talking about this TED Talk that I had seen that was showing the impact of design on newspapers in Europe. And I don't know where that is. If anybody has a link to that, that would be great. Send it over, dean@deanjackson.com. I'd love to see it, but it's worth looking up. I think if we did a Google search on TED Talk about design of newspapers, might show it. And, I think it's a good idea to kind of look at the impact of design on your business, on how, what is everything that you're doing? How is that helping or slowing down the impact of getting your message out into the world? So, lots to think about. But if you want to be a guest on the show, you can go to morecheeselesswhiskers.com, download a copy of the More Cheese Less Whiskers book. And if you'd like to be a guest, just click on the Be a Guest button, and that will magically transport your information to me so we can connect and have a great conversation with you. That's it for this week. Have a great week, and I will talk to you next time.